And he's telling Timothy, you be like the fine china. Yeah, they're both in the house, but you be like those good special dishes set apart for God. The other stuff's just fit to be thrown away. You want to be useful, Timothy? You make sure that you cleanse yourself from everything that you're surrounding yourself with. Cleanse yourself from all of these people around you that are not doing what I'm telling you. And when you do that, you're going to be holy. You're going to be set apart. You have to be purified from everything that could contaminate you. And some of us may wonder why God's not using us. And I think we have to ask, what are we surrounding ourselves with? Do we need to be cleansed from our surroundings? Holiness is a big deal to God. I don't think we talk about it a lot. But it's our sinfulness that sent Christ to the cross to pay the penalty for our sins in the first place. And we can't expect God to use us if we're consistently living in sin. In Romans, Paul argues that we died to sin, and if we died to it, how can we keep living in it? So what's one way to purify yourself? He starts telling him in the next verse here. He says to flee the evil desires of youth and to pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. Flee the evil desires of youth. Now, usually what we do with that verse is we talk to kids about that and we say, hey, you got to keep away from all things that tempt you sexually. And while that's great advice and while that's scriptural, that has nothing to do with what Paul's telling Timothy about here. What he's talking about is the way that he uses his mouth. Because when we're young, when we're headstrong, sometimes we think we know everything, and there's nobody going to tell us that we're wrong. We don't even have to be young. And it doesn't even matter what we're talking about. If we know what we're talking about, we just want to be right. And we want to be right sometimes so much that we'll tear somebody down just so that they know that we're right and they're wrong. And churches have been torn apart by people arguing about who's right and who's wrong, and who's right regarding stupid things like the color of carpet, whether we should have chairs in the worship center, in the sanctuary over pews, whether there's stains on the carpet somewhere because people actually fellowshipped and got the carpet dirty. And because, or people singing hymns over worship songs, or people coming in with tattoos and piercings, or people having holes in their jeans. Churches have torn apart over stupid things like that don't amount to anything when the day's done. None of those things matter. None of them point people to Jesus. And Paul says to Timothy and all of us who could get caught up in similar meaningless talk, he says, watch your mouth. Because the Lord's servant cannot be quarrelsome. You can't want to be right. You can't want to be right about everything. You need to throw that out the window. You can't have to argue with everyone. You can't always have this I'm always right and you're always wrong mentality. We have to be more interested in winning souls than winning arguments. And then, surprisingly to me at least, Paul then tells Timothy, he says, don't immediately give up on people who are like this. To people who are caught up in all this